Hey everybody, we're back here, Crystal and I, and and we've been talking about the focus wheel in the last couple of our videos, and we wanted to do one for those people who don't really know where to start. So, for those people, even if you're creating a vision board or if you're creating a focus wheel like the one that we've been talking about, maybe you don't know where to start. Maybe you're confused or not clear as to like what you want to focus on, how you should focus it. So bringing it back to Abrahams Hicks, they teach a process called clarity through contrast. And what that basically means is figuring out and tuning into what it is that you don't want so you can figure out what it is that you do want. Mm-hmm. Does that cover it?
Yeah, pretty much. And just find, so many people a lot of people are scared to look, and pay attention to what they don't want, because a lot of teachings do say that, like, don't pay attention, don't give your attention to what you don't want. But in certain moments like this, where Ellie's talking about, where you're really going to start to focus on the desires that you have, even though you know what your desires are, it's even easier to get to them when you're really specific about what you don't want, as long as you use it as a pivot point to figure out what you do want and that you don't stay there too long. So the contrast clarity sheet is a really great way for you to get clear on what you want, but to also sometimes bring up things that maybe you don't even realize that you don't want, so that's another thing. Like, I've made it in the past. I don't know about you, Ellie, but I've started off with a few things, and before I know it, I'm on page 3 of things I don't want. I'm like, I didn't even know I didn't want that. But so it is a really good way to get clear about that. But again, as long as you are taking everything that you don't want and then you're reshifting it to what you do. Okay, yeah. So Ellie's going to share sort of on the paper how you would do it or what you would write.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I just want to say too, it's so important to know what it is that you don't want. It's really easy to get stuck in this, especially in this new age kind of mindset. Everyone's always talking about positive thinking. You've got to think positively, but it's you've got to go through those dark emotions and those dark thoughts so that you can come out the other side. So acknowledging them is really important, right? Rather than just kind of trying to push it under the rug and trying to force yourself to think positively, identify them, own them, and then you can move on.
And it's the same thing with beliefs. I've learned that over time with your beliefs. So, not automatically trying to change, your belief about something, but understanding, where it came from, where you got it from, who it belongs to. Bashar talks a lot about that, and just kind of figuring out why you have this belief so that you can change it. So this is kind of the same idea. Okay. You want to figure out what it is that you really want based upon what you don't want, so that when you make this focus wheel, you're very, very clear. Okay. So, what Ellie's going to do, if you have just the paper so that they could see. So on one side,
okay.
Did you do it like that, or?
I did. There's some other things in my journal, but it's okay. It's not private or anything. But just to give people, I'll cover this, not to confuse you. Can you see? It's short. It's not very long, but I basically, put a line down the middle, and on the left side, I wrote contrast. So that's the thing. Those are the things you don't want. And then on the other side, I put clarity, and those are the things that you do want.
Mm-hmm. So it's important to, as we go into it, perfect. It's important to, as we go into it, that you're realizing that you're going to take, and you'll see when we do this now, you're going to take what it is that you don't want for that specific sentence and make it into clarity for what you do want. So I don't want you guys to think you're just writing a whole list of all the things you don't want and all the things that you do want. You're really doing a specific compare and contrast of how you can change from what you don't want to what you prefer instead. Okay, so Ellie will start your first one. So what Ellie's going to do is read her clarity, and then her contrast, and then I'm going to sort of play around with some things that you can do for clarity.
Some possibilities. Mm-hmm. So okay, so the subject that I was focused on was around work. So on the first thing that I wrote was I don't want to feel pressure.
Okay, so you have, I don't want to feel pressure. What's the, what you first want to do is think about what are the opposite things of pressure? Ease, comfort. You know, I would even say joy sometimes because, you know, pressure is you're just,
Flow.
you know, flow,
Yeah.
things like that. So I would write, I want to feel ease, or I want to feel at ease,
Yeah.
or, you know, things like that. You want to avoid, also, I want to say, you want to avoid things like, I don't, like she said, you know, what was it? I don't
want to feel pressure.
feel pressure. So I want to feel less stress. So even though you think that I want to feel less stress is a clarity statement, it actually can cause some resistance because just the word stress can bring up that feeling of stress or pressure. So whatever word that you're using to come to change, to use for clarity, have it be a really complete opposite of whatever it is you're saying. So pressure, ease; pressure, flow. You know, things.
Yeah. Just kind of like you know, releasing of the resistance, like choosing a word that releases that resistance to that word.
Exactly.
So, all right, for number 2, I don't want to feel overworked.
Okay, so overworked. What's the opposite of overworked?
I don't know. On the opposite side, I wrote I want to feel free, but I want to get more specific just for the sake of this example that we're giving.
So I would write, I don't want to feel overworked. I want to feel organized. I want to feel in control of tasks.
Yeah.
You know, because overworked is in my mind is there's too many things to do. I'm having to do everything at once. I have too much on my plate. Everything is very, you know, overwhelming. So the opposite of that was I'm very, you know, I want to feel organized. I want to feel, because you can have a lot of work, but yet still be organized.
Or how about like I want to feel productive.
Productive. Yeah.
Because, you know, that's, you know, I think that for me that's actually would be perfect because, you know, I like working. I like the productivity of it. I like having some, you know, going through my day and taking care of things and learning and expanding. So I would say I want to feel productive and with ease, maybe something like that.
And that's a great example because we may have a job where there is so much to do there and you can avoid it. Like you're overworked but there is so much, but it has to be done. So looking at it from a perspective of, instead of it being a stressful situation where there's so much, like you're saying, being productive, being organized, being in control of the work instead of the work being controlling you, you know, so coming into that sense of it. All right, next one. This is good because it's a good work. I think is something a lot of people obviously stress with.
I don't want to feel stuck.
So I want to feel free. I want to have options.
Yeah, I want to feel like there are options. I want to see options around me. What else? What's the opposite of stuck?
Flexible. I want to feel flexible.
Yeah, I want flexibility. Yeah.
I want options, choices. I want to feel like I have choices. I want to feel like, you know, I'm in control of going or saying, because again, you can also, it doesn't have to be one sentence. It could be, you know, two things together, or, you know, mine are a little.
You always love to write so much.
This is good. For the sake of this is good. You know, and again, feeling that stuck. What does stuck feel like? What's the opposite of what stuck feels like? All right. So if you're feeling like that in your job and you're feeling like, you know, you can't go and you can't get something else and you can't, you know, most people are stuck in security. You know, they're scared to move on to another job because they don't know what it holds. So they'd rather stay.
You could say like, I want to trust.
Yeah.
Trust.
I want to have, you know, faith that there's something else out there. You know, things like that, because I think that stuck is that feeling, because we're never stuck. I mean, we can leave whenever we want if we left the job, right? But the point is we're stuck in our own minds of the job of even though it's uncomfortable, it does provide security, it does provide all this stuff. So really thinking about like the clarity of like, wow, I could leave this at any time and find something possibly even better, you know, so something like that. Next one.
Next one is I don't want to feel stress.
Right. So I want to feel at ease. Again, the same thing. I want to feel at ease. I want to feel, you don't want to say, you know, I want to feel less stress, because again, that gives attention to stress. So I want to feel in control, because I think stress is like really a activity, you know, a thoughtful process where you don't have control. Like for me, feel stress when I feel like things are not in order, when I'm not in control of things. For me would be, you know, things are controlling me. I'm not controlling them. And I don't mean people or situations. I mean, just everything going on around me. If you don't have any way of really feeling like you're in control, you feel stressed. That's what your body sends a signal to you. So, you know, feeling I'm in control, you know, I want to feel in control. I want to feel.
Well, I actually put something here. I put, I want to feel peace and love.
Yeah, there you go. So whatever it is you would want to feel when you're in that moment of stress, what would you want to feel? Yeah. Peace, love, hope, you know, hope that things are
good. Hope is a good one.
You know, faith that things are going to get better. You know, excitement for change. You know, nothing is ever permanent. Everything will change. Everything will get better over time. And
I would even say expansion, because, you know, stress is also an indicator for us to grow.
Yeah.
It can be, if you use it that way.
Use it that way. Yeah, there's good stress and there's bad stress, definitely.
So now we want to talk about how we can transfer this stuff onto focus wheel. So again, if you're struggling to create your focus wheel or a vision board that you're creating on your own, this is a process that you can do to get clear on that, right? Looking at what you don't want so you can figure out what it is that you do want. So we have some keywords here, and what I tell clients of mine to do, and friends of mine who I've helped through this process, is look at the clarity side and look at the words that stick out to you, right? So for the sake of this example, I'm going to just point out the main words that we talked about, which is, you know, organized, ease, flexible, free, trusting, hope, faith, expansion, and growth. So taking those words, that's kind of, you know, like your foundational starting point to create your focus wheel. You know, these are the words that you can start with, that you can, you know, start to put into your wheel and expand on that. But that just gives you like a sense of clarity onto like where you're headed on your emotional path.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
That's how I advise people to transfer it.
Yeah. And I always tell them to, once you're done with what you do want, you kind of just fold it and you're only focused on what you do want at that point. You know, again, you're only looking at what you don't want as your map towards what you do want. Once you're done with that, and once you've established that, you don't want to keep going back to that, because it's going to keep you there, you know?
Yeah, and these are really great affirmations. Like, I want to feel organized. And I would even take it a step further and create affirmations that are more present tense, you know, and maybe put that somewhere. Maybe put it at the corner of your focus wheel at the bottom, or, you know, put it in the focus wheel, whatever it is you want to do. But, you know, instead of saying, I want to feel organized, say, I am organized, I am ease, I am flexible, I am free, I am trusting, I am peace, I am love, I am expansion, I am growth. And having that as your visual, and that guiding you every day if you want to look at it, having that as your guide to create your focus wheel as well.
Absolutely. So. Absolutely. I actually have to do another focus wheel. I haven't done one in a while. Yeah.
On what?
On what? I don't know. I have to figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to use it when you're confused.
Yeah.
That's when it's, you know, you can pull out this tool, is like when you don't really know what you want. You can totally figure it out if you ask yourself what you don't want. You know, so if you're in that space where you're confused. And
I think the feelings, you know, we always talked about the feelings with the focus wheel too, you know, and there's these words that emit, you know, feelings inside of you. It's the same thing with the clarity. You know, what are the things, you know, it may be specific things like that. Like maybe you have a job and you say, you know, I don't want to work with people anymore. Maybe you're sick of working with people. And like some people I speak to and they're just tired, like they're tired of working with the public or they're tired of working with people. And it's like, well, you know, instead of saying, you know, I don't want to work, you'll say, I don't want to work with people, you know, I want to work independently, you know, I want to work on my own. So it may not always be a feeling, but you always want to try to find that feeling place with whatever it is that you desire, that you want, because that's going to be essentially what really brings you to where you are. And I was speaking to Ellie before we got on here, and I was telling her also, you know, in certain things, like the example I gave with her was like, I'll tell, you know, my fiance, like, oh, you know, instead of saying don't forget your keys, I'll say things like, you know, remember to bring your keys. You know, things that you would usually say like, oh, don't do this, or don't do that, or don't be this, or don't be that. And this is to yourself, you know, when you're speaking to yourself or when you're speaking to others, changing that in your mind as well and saying, okay, well, what's the opposite of this in a more positive form, you know, with kids or with, you know.
Yeah, especially, yeah, definitely with kids. And because I work with children, and that's one of the biggest things that we have to focus on as therapists is to always be mindful of the phrasing that we're using, because, you know, telling someone don't do that, it brings on more anxiety for that child, rather than saying something else like, can you do this instead?
Saying what it is you would prefer them to.
Because that instills shame in the child and in adults, you know, like you're doing it wrong.
Exactly.
That's not really helpful. It's not helpful for yourself either, you know, so even talking to yourself, same thing.
Yeah, especially yourself. Yourself. You know, like Ellie and I got on and we were talking about our hair when we got and I was like, oh my God, I was like, I look horrible. And it's like, as soon as I said that, she was like, hey, you know, don't say that. And I'm like, but when I say it, I know that like I don't let it get to me. I say it like as a joking way, but I'm not letting it get to myself, you know, where I'm going to like beat myself up about it, you know? So with things like that, you know, when you're getting ready, when you're looking in the mirror, you know, and saying like, you know, I don't like the way that I look, you know, instead of saying, you know, you don't even have to lie to yourself and say, okay, I like the way that I look. Today is not my best day. I'll have a better day, you know, because let's be real.
This is giving me an idea for another video.
Oh, okay.
You know, like the language that we use.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
absolutely.
We can do another one on that.
And that's the thing, you know, if it's anything I've learned, and probably Dom gets the most annoyed at it. Like he'll say something, I'm like, don't you say that, like, take it back, say something else. And it's like, once you start like really listening to yourself and what you're saying, you know, you can catch on to it and say, well, you know, how can I change it?
Yeah, because words are spells, you know?
Yeah. No, definitely. All right. So
do we have anything else to say about this? Clarity through contrast? I
think we pretty much covered it. If anyone has any questions, they can always, you know, write in the comment box and, you know, ask us anything. But yeah, I mean, I almost feel like this is such a great tool, like Ellie said, you know, when you're stuck. And I think a lot of people are stuck, you know, like they're like, you know, like overall what you want, but when you start to get really specific about it, I think this is when you want to get really specific about it, this can definitely be the way that you can do it. So if you guys have any questions, let us know, and we'll be on next week. And I'm going to brainstorm with Ellie since she has an idea. Okay. All right. So we'll talk to you guys soon. Have a great one.